Welcome back, everyone, to the show of Requirement, a Harry Potter podcast, streaming everywhere you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Here's the thing, guys. We've been actually recording for almost 7 minutes now, but none of you guys will see it. But it's been so long since we've all been together recording, so it's just great catching up. I'm your host, David, joined by my co-hosts, Spencer, Abby, Cole. Welcome to the show, guys.
Forgot to
How are
introduce
you?
the other person.
No
you
one
can share
cares
the
about
first 7
Krampus.
minutes.
You
It's
forgot
fine.
to introduce David.
No, I did say David. I'm David. I said that.
The
I
other
said-
David.
What other David?
I don't know.
Gosh,
Oh my
Cole.
gosh.
Gosh,
You're welcome.
this is going as crazy and cringy as Chow and Harry's first date in the previous episode, which I
Okay,
wasn't here to
David,
talk
we have
about.
to address it. I need to address
Yes.
it with you. Why do
Go
you say
ahead.
chow?
Chow.
Ciao.
Cho.
Because her character is so insignificant that I don't want to say it right.
That's America.
It's
Say
another
Cho.
hatred thing to me. It's
You know what? You're right. But
Ugh.
here's the thing. I can actually say it. So Cho, Chang, their date was terrible and awful. Let's just admit it. It was cringy. She's the worst date of all time.
That's part of the fun.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, Cole, I'm saying it.
in the
Okay.
Harry Potter series.
In the
Cole.
Harry
In the Harry
series.
Potter series.
Okay, fine.
Yes. It was bad. It was awful. It was terrible. But that's the point. Spencer, you're absolutely right. Which is why I loved it, even though I hated it at the same time. It was
But
great.
it's not. Yeah, it's not like Umbridge love and hate. Actually, I just hate Umbridge.
Yeah, you just hate Umbridge. That's a separate issue. But
But
hey,
you love
this section, she's gonna get what's coming to her, and it's gonna be beautiful, and we're all gonna be happy. But we're here to review the final chapters of the books, chapters 31 through 38. We have a long episode for you today, as this is also our season finale as well. And so be ready for a great time, a great ride as we talk through the ending of this book, and we also give our final impressions and even our rankings up to this point heading into the Half-Blooded Prince. So here we go. Let's go ahead and start chapter 31, the OWLs. So obviously we're given a rundown of the exams being taken by the students. We get to see the stress levels. We get to see Harry actually does pretty well whenever his professors and his I guess testers, I don't know how the other words that they say, but basically he's not being tested by Umbridge or Snape. It's people who love Dumbledore and also love him as well. And so he does a pretty good job on his exams. But he gets to actually before that, we witness the attack of Hagrid and McGonagall by Umbridge and the Ministry.
wild stuff.
It is bonkers crazy.
I
I wish they hadn't cut that from the movie.
Did they even film it? Probably not. I'm kind of like,
Yeah, I would say no.
they saw all of it happen from the astronomy tower, though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that would have translated to film. They'd have to shoot 2 separate scenes almost and overlay them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think,
Mhm.
and that I wouldn't hate that, but
Yeah, it was really hard to
but I think
endure.
it brings
but it was
the
beautiful.
extremity of the situation
Yes.
with Umbridge
Yes.
to a tipping point that
Mhm.
it needed to.
Yeah.
Because otherwise she's just a terrible teacher / headmistress, but this is like over the line
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, because we get to see the insanity of Umbridge, but also the ever-growing, but also really it's the weakening in reputation for the Ministry. Because even the examiners who were there were just like, this is absolutely crazy that this is happening right now in front of children. Like, they witnessed all of this. But also, we hate anybody who goes after McGonagall. And boy, she one tough cookie to take that.
That's true.
I don't know if it happens in this chapter, but the main lady for OWLs notes that she was at the school for Dumbledore's OWL.
It was this chapter. Yeah.
And that would mean, because Dumbledore graduated from Hogwarts in like 1880 something, or he started at Hogwarts a year after Hogwarts Legacy. I think that was the way they designed it, or whatever. I don't remember what year that was though.
1882.
So that means, yeah, so he graduated in like 1890-ish. Which means that if she was like in her 20s, that means she's like, 140 years old at this point. Just wild stuff.
She looks good.
Well, and also tells you that like if Dumbledore hadn't gotten sick, he probably would have lived another 20 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Because he's a wizard and magic and all that stuff.
All that jazz.
The other thing I wanted to note that I just like is Ron is talking all about the game that he won, and he's ruffling up his hair to see if any girls notice him nearby. And he's like, "What are you looking at, Harry?" Harry has to he says nothing, and he's trying to straighten his face. The truth was that Ron had just reminded Harry forcibly of another Gryffindor Quidditch player who had once sat ruffling his hair under this very tree.
Yep.
It's just a really good, it's a good callback to early parts of the book, but it's like a blink and you miss it type thing. But thinking about James.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Thinking about
anybody else has anybody else have anything?
Not really from this chapter. I feel like you guys have covered it pretty good.
Yeah. Well, the chapter ends pretty crazily as Harry falls asleep during his History of Magic OWL, and then sees into Voldemort's mind and witnesses Voldemort torturing Sirius in the Department of Mysteries and threatening to kill him. So that takes us to chapter 32, Out of the Fire. We get this just amazing time of Harry trying to find McGonagall, but realizing that she's in St. Mungo's. I think Pomfrey is the one who kind of gives comments on the strength of McGonagall, of, that should have killed her, but it didn't. And that she'll be able to make a full recovery. But then Harry then goes to Ron and Hermione to get their help. And after some back and forth into where Hermione and Harry get into it about, hey, this could possibly not be real. Like, she's on top of it. Like, she knows, or at least suspects. But
correctly
after
suspects.
Yes, after Harry is just pushing forth to see if Sirius is actually not in Grimmauld Place, with the help of Ginny and Luna to break into Umbridge's office again.
Lots of caps lock Harry.
It was lots of caps lock Harry. He was.
Yes.
It's hard when
he was on one.
I would say it's hard when we know what happens later on, because if you didn't know up to this point, like you'd be you'd be probably a little bit more on Harry's side, like, or torn between being on Harry and Hermione's side. Like,
well, because
is
I
it
think
really
you
happening?
would,
I don't know, but
yeah, because you would think it would be like him seeing Mr. Weasley being attacked.
Right.
Like if you didn't read this book before, you think that that's exactly what's happening.
Right. But then you also get Hermione's point of like, well, Voldemort may understand what's happening and maybe trying to use you. And so you're torn between,
and Snape
like,
pointed
is
that
Harry
out as
being
well.
fair? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like, is Harry being fair to Hermione, and he's just yelling at her and you're like, it feels icky, but what if he's right? But it's hard for us because we know what happens. And
we already know what happens. Yeah.
Harry's a turd,
Well,
but he wants to, like, that's the closest thing he has to family. Like,
but also
parent.
creatures a turd.
Yeah, creature's the biggest turd.
Because we don't find out in this chapter, we find out in a different chapter, but Creature tells Harry that Sirius isn't there.
No, that's in this chapter.
No, I'm talking about like we don't know that he's lying until
but he
later
straight
on.
up he straight up tells him, because he doesn't have to tell the truth to someone that he isn't under command of.
Right.
Right.
Which is funny foreshadowing for the next book. But Creature turns and says, Master will not come back from the Department of Mysteries. Which he was not lying. But he hadn't gone to the Department of Mysteries yet.
Right.
Honestly, Creature is the worst.
He is the worst.
I have to think about, and Cole and I ranted a lot about Spew.
Yeah.
We gave it its due time. But what is the point of doing Spew if you're going to follow it up with the Hats not working out storyline and then Creature storyline? I'm like, they're just making me feel more conflicted. I was like, but yes, slavery is wrong. And then all the wizard people are like, oh, but they love being slaves. And they're like, well, that's not good either. But then they're like, oh, but this one's like a small antagonist of the story. So you're like, I'm just conflicted. There's no resolutions. There's nothing good to come of it.
I think that's kind of the point. Is there's just slavery in the wizarding world has been around for so long that unfortunately you are going to have major resistance to it, even by the house elves themselves, because again, it's been hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands of years of slavery that for them, that's all they've known. They've never known there's no such thing as a free elf in the wizarding world. Like there just isn't. And so Hermione is taking a difficult task. She has a conviction to do and accomplish a difficult task that is bigger than herself. Like it's one that unfortunately, like the reality of it is that for her, she would need more people on her side, and even then she still won't be able to see the accomplishment of abolishing elf slavery in her lifetime. Like, and it might not be hundreds and thousands of years, and that's if she has help, but no one cares about it.
I think it's just a storyline that doesn't see enough resolution for it to be ultimately worthwhile. I think it's interesting. I think it's good to point out that the wizarding world has problems. I think that's the benefit of it. And we do know that Kingsley, when he's minister, and then Hermione as his follow-up, do pass
allegedly
pro house elf. Allegedly, right? They supposedly, according to J.K. Rowling, pass some house elf legislation that helps them, but it's like that's an afterthought. This is not done here. And house elves, I looked it up while you were talking just to double check. They did participate in the Battle of Hogwarts, and I think that's significant.
Yeah,
but it's just it's just one of those things. It's like not enough fixing in universe. In story.
Yeah, for sure.
Thought-provoking, though.
It is thought-provoking, 100%. But what we see after this is that Umbridge pulls Harry out of the fire, and everything happens pretty similarly to the film, as the crew is all together captured by the squad full of Slytherins. Umbridge then reveals that she's the one who sent the Dementors to Little Whinging in the summer, and just before she's
not in the movie at all.
Huh? I had forgotten about that.
Yeah, that's not in the movie.
I forget about that every single time. Like, I completely forgot about that. I just thought it was Voldemort.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But just before she performs the Cruciatus Curse on Harry, Hermione tells Umbridge that she will show her Dumbledore's secret weapon. And that's how the chapter ends. But
I like Snape saying, you only needed one drop. She used the entire potion.
Yeah.
But it was,
Silly Jane.
I like that she tried to use it on Harry. I think the movie said that the movie got rid of Marietta as a character entirely. And so
just
they
gave
said
it to
that Umbridge to Cho.
Mm-hmm.
We already have enough reasons to
not
like Cho. I guess they don't even have the date in the movie, so that plot line just kind of fizzles out, which
I
happens.
like Cho better in the film than in the books for sure. I think they kind of help push her in the right direction.
Yeah, she's not ultimately a horrible character, I guess.
No.
In the movies,
in the movies, it's just like, well, of course she like gave them away. She was under the truth serum, so I mean, it's not really her fault.
I just like when it circles back to in the 7th movie where he's with Ginny, or at least still with Ginny, sort of. And that's just a fun, like, hey, they're all in the same space again.
Yeah.
And Ginny's like, Luna will take you up to Ravenclaw Tower.
Yeah. Yeah, Deathly Hallows, an amazing book. But let's go chapter 33, Fight and Flight. So after journeying a little bit through the
great
Forbidden
picture
for
the
forest.
YouTube people.
Yes.
Big chubby Umbridge.
Yeah.
Or short and stubby.
But the way that happens here is that Umbridge is confronted by the centaurs and is carried away, which we love. It's awesome.
I think similar. The movie does it pretty similarly.
It does.
The centaurs are a little more about to kill Harry and Hermione, though. The situation is far more serious in the book.
Mm-hmm.
But and you don't quite get.
I mean, Hermione doesn't really make it better.
No.
Yeah.
She doesn't make a good case. Haggard. We're Haggard.
Yeah.
I want to know, how does Jim Dale sound when he does Grop?
That's pretty good. It's not.
It was solid.
It's not like over the top or anything.
Yeah.
It's not his creature performance or his Barty Crouch Jr. performances. Like some characters, he just goes for the swings for the fences, but then some he just does something.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens to Grop. We'll find out in the next book.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Like he keeps taming him and stuff, and I think Grop appears in the Battle of Hogwarts, but he doesn't get much mention in between those points.
Nope.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I do like it, however, in the book, how Ron, Neville, Ginny, and Luna, they escape by using their defensive skills, not like a joke shop like Candy or anything like that. Like the fact that they're able to use what they learned in the DA was awesome. And I love the continual wearing down of Harry as he likes like, no, I'll go by myself. And they're just like, yeah, screw that. Like, we're going with you. Like, tired of that mess.
I mean, fair enough to Harry, though. He literally thinks, he goes, if I was going to, he was going to choose certain members of the DA, Luna, Neville wouldn't have been on his list. I don't think he said Ginny would have.
Yeah, I don't
think he put Ginny out of the
I don't think so either. But I do love how the line in the film that Ron had, or was it given to Neville? No, Neville said it, right?
Which one?
Sorry, the one where he's just where he said I thought like the DA was supposed to be bigger than this, or was that all just talk? I don't remember the exact line. I thought it was Ron who said it, but I think Neville actually did say it.
No, I think it is Neville.
Too. Yeah. So they did it right. Yeah. I liked Neville being in this, and I also liked him in Beyond the Veil, but we're not there yet.
Nope.
He's just great. I like in the movie and the book.
Yeah.
So good.
Phenomenal. Yeah. I do love how we get this picture of them riding on Thestrals, but like they can't see that they're on Thestrals. So they're like in midair, and in like in their mind, they're like just
looking down and seeing. Ah!
Yeah, that must have been trippy. Can't even imagine. Any other comments on this chapter? All right, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna move on to chapter 34, the Department of Mysteries. Now this chapter. Wait, say that again. Sorry. Did you say something, or did I miss it?
I did. Just continue. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
The
I didn't
listeners
hear
will
what you
catch
said.
it. No,
Dang it. Oh,
that's fine.
okay. All right. Well, the majority of this chapter is spent journeying through the Ministry of Magic to get to the Department of Mysteries. I like that the fact that they were going through the revolving doors, and Hermione had the idea of just putting a big X on it, just so they was just like, hey, we're not going to waste our time going through this door again. But they finally find the archway with the tattered black curtains to where Harry hears whispering behind it. But then when they finally reach the spot where Sirius is supposed to be, they don't find him, but they do find a sphere with Harry's name on it, to which when Harry grabs it, here's Lucius Malfoy telling him, hey, give it here.
Give it here, boy.
Which that's the end of the chapter.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
the
how
main thing I
chapter
always
ends.
say is that, one, I think it's similar to Thestrals with the veil. You can hear voices if you've seen enough.
Yeah.
Unconfirmed. That's just, I guess, headcanon.
Well, I think Luna will probably prove your theory to be correct.
Mm-hmm.
But Neville would also be able to hear.
That is
Neville
true.
can see them.
Mm-hmm.
I just love this chapter. I'd seen the movie before I read this book, and I was like, oh, okay, this will be a fun chapter to read. And then there's all this extra stuff that just got cut from the movie, and I was like,
World building.
Well, getting to see the different rooms
that, yes,
as well was very interesting. I forgot about the brains thing.
The
I was gonna say
brains!
I'd argue the fights through the rooms actually give us more opportunities to experience the rooms than this chapter does.
I agree with that.
But
the
that's
brains
something
are
I feel like they'd have the liberty to do in the upcoming TV show, if it happens, is like kind of expand on this chapter. Heck, they could make a whole hour-long episode just on this chapter of them fighting through
for
crazy
sure.
rooms.
I think they could do a whole episode. I think they could do a whole episode arriving to the Ministry to just before Dumbledore versus Voldemort.
Yes.
I think that could be a whole 45-minute episode pretty easily.
Yeah.
It'd be wild. Bloody too. The fight is more intense in the book.
Although the way that they would probably do it is that they would probably, when they get to the Ministry, and then probably when Sirius dies, and then leaves it on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah. I think the movie makes the Death Eaters too easy to get.
I agree. Yes.
I think it gives
I was going to get to that.
Bad rap.
Yeah. I was going to get to that in the next chapter. Just because of the way that things go down, which let's go ahead and get into that. Chapter 35, Beyond the Veil. Harry demands to know where Sirius is, but Lucius tells him that they've manipulated his dreams in order for him to come and get the prophecy himself, since Voldemort couldn't just walk into the Ministry and grab it. But the crew tried to escape, but they were unable to, as Hermione was stunned. Ginny's ankle was broken, Neville's nose was broken, and Ron is put under a lunacy spell. So again, like you talk about in the movie, the Death Eaters are made out to be just like a bunch of, and like I think in wrestling terms, they would call them just like jobbers. Like that's kind of what the Death Eaters are made into in the films. But in this section,
a reference any of us understand.
Would it be kind of like stormtroopers?
Yes, or stormtroopers, or even like Trade Federation battle droids. Like the Roger droids.
Roger that.
Because like they're just literally like paper mache that the Jedi can easily cut down. But you don't get that in this one, because even in the next part was so crazy, because then Ron suffers after the brain jar is broken and is getting strangled by the brain.
Poor Ron.
My thoughts.
This is
Quite
why
literally he's being burned by thoughts themselves.
This is going I think that this episode, if they actually do the TV show, this is going to be the Halloween episode for sure. It's going to be the scariest thing ever. It's going to be so
goodness.
It's a great reference for the listeners who will listen to this not on Halloween.
Not on Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. We're recording this the day before Halloween.
On Hallows Eve. But
yeah.
I would say, in defense of David Yates in the movies, they're still got Bellatrix is still intense in this one.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's because
Snape's
Helena
not
Bonham
even there.
Carter is amazing.
Yes, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Bellatrix is amazing in this chapter as well.
Yeah, she's.
But I think Bellatrix would not be the same without Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah.
An elevation of the character for sure in my book.
Definitely.
But I think the Death Eaters are more scary in Half-Blood Prince and Deathly Hallows, respectfully.
Mm-hmm.
The movies.
Yeah.
There's also. I think
you said they're more. You said they're more.
They're more intense. Yeah, they're more of a threat.
But
and Deathly Hallows.
Yeah. I agree. Absolutely.
They fix that moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that could also be attributed to just kind of the overall darker tones of those
the
movies.
vibe of the movie.
They're pretty intense. They're much more of action films than this one, which this one's kind of a meandering of both.
Yeah. But so again, Ron is taken out by the brain jar. Ginny is stunned by Death Eater. Luna's tossed into a desk with both being unconscious. So this
Hermione
leaves
straight up knocked out.
Yeah, Hermione straight up knocked out. This leaves Neville and Harry, the boys who lived, to take on the rest of the Death Eaters. Again, they make it to the room where the curtained archway is. We see Lestrange torturing Neville, which for me made me very emotional because again, Neville has been developed so much in this book in particular, that you feel for him. You just want this guy to have a win, and for this to happen, it was a little bit much for me. I will admit, it was a lot, but the Order of the Phoenix arrives to save them. And so we get some battling here and there. They're telling them to go and to leave. But then this is where I wish it would have happened. I don't know. I guess this is a question I would ask you, but the way that it happens in the film is that Sirius is hit with the killing curse by Bellatrix, falls into the veil. And this, Sirius is hit by a jet of red light in the chest, and then he'll fall back into the veil and goes through the curtains, with that Sirius Black dying in the process.
What do you guys think?
Was it this
torn.
chapter where the prophecy got smashed?
Yes.
Because that's also important.
Yeah, that is important.
Just to mention.
Because you can't hear what they're saying in the midst of what's going on.
That. Yeah.
What Dumbledore's saying, but they don't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cole and Abby. Book, movie, Sirius's death. What's your takes? Which one's better?
I think I like the movie.
I'm with Abby on that one. I like the movie.
Yeah. It's hard to not take Daniel Radcliffe's.
Just the silence. The silence.
And the expression on
the muted.
Yeah.
On Sirius as well.
Yeah.
But I think the book has merit as well.
I think it does too.
I mean, it's not bad.
Because Sirius was still smiling because he was happy and kind of almost in his element, if you will, when he gets thrown into the veil. I also think that in the movies, the killing curse is inconsistent in how quickly it affects people.
That's true.
Yes.
Because
you're right.
Cedric immediately dies.
Preach. Yes.
Dead. Yeah, dead face. But then Sirius is not affected as quickly for some reason. He kind of
almost like
hit, and then he looks at Harry and then he passes on. But he knows he's at peace or whatever because Harry's safe or whatever.
Yeah, because with Cedric, it was almost like, I don't mean for this to sound as like bad as it sounds, but for Cedric, it's almost like his head gets blown off because it's immediate. But with Sirius, it's almost as if he gets bitten or something, and it takes its time.
Yeah, and Dumbledore, I think he's dead immediately, but it's like up to interpretation.
Yeah.
He's probably dead while he's falling, but the way he kind of falls while he's looking at the camera, which was a great shot.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Heartbreaking.
Makes it hard to tell.
But technically speaking, he's probably already dead at that point.
Yeah.
He gets that fall. I'm just kidding. The fall catches his life.
So no, I think just seeing it, and they added in Dan Radcliffe's pieces in a different sense,
along with the music, which was phenomenal.
Along with the music, and I'm forgetting the actor's name that plays Sirius Black.
Gary Oldman.
Because now he's old.
I also wanted to reference, since we were in this chapter, if you haven't seen the behind the scenes of making listeners, Gary Oldman just waltzing around going, what if I come up to him? What if we just try this real quick? If I come up to him real quick and I deck him. Let's do it right now.
He's just such a gentle sounding human being that when you compare him to like Sirius, it's just really funny.
Yeah. But I think a lot of the Order of the Phoenix stuff is not as good as the book, but that specific Sirius arriving, I don't like the white ghost flying thing.
No.
Yeah.
And I think they clearly got the idea that they're like, oh, people don't like this. We're never doing this again.
Yeah,
because I'm not going to say anything about it.
I'm guessing it's because it's supposed to be the opposite of like the Death Eaters, like their black swirly thing, and so
it's just
it wasn't great.
I think that
I do love Sirius's arrival with "Stay away from my godson."
Well, you know, so Sirius doesn't. Yeah, they don't show Sirius doing that. He just kind of walks onto screen. But yeah, you got this dramatic thing of the rest of them showing up, and it's like this doesn't. It's not a landing.
No,
we're not landing the plane here.
Yeah,
but it's fine. It's fine. I still like the scene in the movie. It's just not the same. Also, Dumbledore arriving to the Death Eaters first is cool.
Yeah.
Like the feeling of Dumbledore's here.
It reminds me of now. It reminds me of when Aslan arrives at the battle in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Like he finally like comes up and he's like, "Rah!" And everyone's like, anyways.
I would actually slightly better example maybe Thor arriving in Infinity War for a more modern example. Because I'm like Bruce Banner in the scene. I'm like, you guys are so screwed now.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's how I feel. That's how I felt.
Yeah, for you atheists who need a non-Christian example, unlike
Thor,
Chronicles of Narnia.
Infinity War.
Yeah, just use
all of the love for the Narnia reference. Abby, do not get me wrong here.
Spencer just had to one-up me. No.
Yeah,
I like yours better, Abby.
Yeah, I'm always a Narnia fan, except the last one because I still don't get it.
No, it's fine.
The last
it takes a little while to sink in. Yeah.
As a mere Christian, I read it enjoyed the C.S. Lewis reference.
As a mere Christian, another great book.
Yeah,
Abolition of Man. I had to read it twice, and I still
the
don't
screw tape letters.
Screw tape letters.
Love it.
Anyway, it's a separate podcast for another day. But
there we go.
Chapter 36, the only one he ever feared.
We gotta talk movie versus book here too.
We do. Say it, Spencer.
I can't decide. I can't. I love the movie one.
I feel like there were a lot of good similarities between book and movie.
I think I ultimately said
what specifically? What specifically are we talking about? Are we talking about just like this section as a whole, or just like Dumbledore and Voldemort, or
really just Dumbledore and Voldemort? Yeah. The book has more dialogue.
It does have more dialogue.
Voldemort definitely would throw killing curses right away. And we get to see Dumbledore block them in 3 different ways with ease.
And then Fox is in this one too.
Yeah, that's
he sacrifices himself.
But also, the book does not include the whole scene with like Harry's internal battle with Voldemort and like the
which I prefer.
Which I also prefer.
I think I do too.
Just because the way that it was executed in the movie, it was literally just Voldemort in front of a green screen.
Yeah,
and it was awful. I think if it would have looked better, maybe it would be more of an argument. But yeah.
What do you mean Voldemort in front of a green screen?
Like there's fight? Like, yeah, the mind fight. That's what I'm talking about.
I think it works.
Because he's literally in front of a green screen. He's just like, do you not remember
parts of it were a little cheesy. Yes.
Like parts of it were just dead awful.
But I like the idea of it in the movie.
At this point,
yes, that's what I'm saying. The idea of it is great. The execution of it wasn't, is what I'm saying.
I think at this point, I think the effects are great.
I think the emotion
and I think at this point in the
Dan
movie,
Radcliffe's performance was great.
I think at this point in the movie,
I
am fully invested.
Yeah.
Because of Sirius's death, mostly, I think I'm fully emotionally invested into it, and so Dan getting to do the whole I don't like that, but
that's the only part I'm talking about.
You'll never know love or friendship, and I feel sorry.
That's such a good monologue.
That's great. That is great. That's great.
I think honestly, after Sirius, from the moment Sirius arrives to the Department of Mysteries and is like Dex Lucius, all the way until he's back, you're just so emotionally just like blinders. You're just like stuck on the edge of your seat, just like crying, and just like you can't turn away because it's just amazing. And the
Dumbledore versus Voldemort fight is amazing in the movie. They put all the stops out, and the only problem I have is the lightning between wands cannot happen between anyone but Voldemort and Harry.
And Harry, you're right.
That's the whole point of the thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I don't really care. Like, I mean, he does the water thing in the book, but the movie with the whole ball and I love it.
I don't know. There's part of me that's like, maybe they could explain it away because it's the Elder Wand and maybe it does something special, but it does sort of like not. It doesn't fit with what they explained.
It definitely breaks the canon. I will say this as the canon lore keeper.
It breaks the canon.
It breaks the canon.
Yeah.
And the part where Voldemort like pulls in all the thing and blows up all of the glass and all that stuff. And then
wild.
That was wild. And then in Half-Blood Prince, at the beginning of the movie, they have that little scene to tie together Order of the Phoenix and Half-Blood Prince a little bit. Which in some ways, David Yates kind of ties Order of the Phoenix and Half-Blood Prince together almost just as much or more than Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2, but it's fine.
Yeah.
But when they're taking the photos for the Daily Prophet and they take a flash and it's like Ralph Fiennes' his voice again from the traumatic battle that Harry was just in. Awesome.
Yeah. I will say though,
in Noctim or whatever the theme was that we love that isn't on the soundtrack.
Yeah. Which why isn't it? Like it should be. It'd be the number one played song. Well,
it's probably Hogwarts one of the number. It's Hogwarts March. Or they should have put Hogwarts.
Anyways,
they should have put that's good too. They should put the Hogwarts March as the end credits music for every single movie. Goblet of Fire moving forward.
Oh.
At the end of Deathly Hallows Part 2, they zoom out from old Harry, Ron, and Hermione, and then.
I will say though, before we move on, my brother one time, this is like probably years ago, probably when I was still living with my parents, like I think in high school, there was a time where there was like a thunderstorm and it was like high winds and all that stuff at our house, and Daniel was in his room, and there was like a really loud like lightning and thunder that got real close to the house that like blew some things off of our back porch. And Daniel said that he had woken up and he had thought that it was Voldemort. Like in that scene where he goes like, bah! and like everything goes flying. It reminded him of that. So I thought that was funny to share. But so he thought that Voldemort had returned.
I thought you were going to say Voldemort shooting the lightning into the sky, which was
cool.
a horrible scene to end on. They should have ended it on the beach. Yes.
Yeah.
They even did the pan out and everything. I was like, that was it.
Have the next scene move the ending of
just have Voldemort shooting lightning as the beginning of part 2.
Exactly. Yes.
Getting the Elder Wand, which we know he's going to do anyway. Everyone's invested.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Anywho,
let us grieve to end it. Anyway,
great stuff.
Chapter 37.
Wait. Before we move on, the last thing that I'll mention, I love that Dumbledore is just telling Fudge what to do.
Oh, yeah.
The whole time. Just completely overriding everything. Like, you're going to do this and you're going to do this. Yeah. He's like, but you can't do that. And he's like, you're going to do this.
You're going to have 30 minutes by time. Yep. In like whenever I desire to have, whenever I decide to do that.
Yep.
Yeah,
because like Dumbledore, you're not authorized to have that port key, and Dumbledore just like ignores him.
I don't care.
Yeah. Anyways, it's just totally like Dumbledore's like, I'm right now, and you know that you've been stupid this whole time. So listen to me and just do what I say.
You done messed up, Ron?
Yep.
I love chapter 37, man.
The Lost Prophecy. To me, this is like the best chapter of the book.
I agree.
It's a good chapter.
And I don't know if it will translate well to TV because it wasn't in the movie, really.
No.
Yeah, they didn't.
It's all dialogue, which I don't hate. It works great in a book.
Yes.
But people are too afraid to do these things in film and TV. And so it's like, I don't know.
Which they should do stuff like this more often. I think it'd be great if you get 2 great actors who can dialogue,
who can carry a scene. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel like Michael Gambon and Dan Radcliffe could have done this.
I think so too.
But they didn't give them the chance.
It's the marketing. They're like, in the cutting room and trying to make it make a 800-page book 2.5 hours or less.
Because like I was picturing them doing it in my head. I was like, they could have totally done that.
And Phineas.
Yeah.
He's like, wait, are you telling me the last member of my family's dead? And he's like, suddenly his grumpiness goes away a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't believe you. And he walks into his portrait.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, this whole chapter is just Dumbledore telling Harry, like, you're already mad at me, but if you're going to be mad at me, you need to be mad at me for the right reasons. And here's why you should be mad at me. And he's like, I failed you in these ways, and I can't take that back, but here's what happened.
A whole podcast episode.
I agree.
Just on this chapter.
Yeah.
So much great moments and conversations. Harry destroys the office. All of the emotions of the entire book. And then all of the background information from Dumbledore and what happened and everything comes all to the surface in one chapter.
Part of my favorite bit from this chapter is Dumbledore seeing Harry struggle. He said, there's no shame in what you're feeling, Harry. On the contrary, the fact that you can feel pain like this is your greatest strength. And Harry's getting all angry and he says, my greatest strength is it.
Naturally,
you haven't got a clue. You don't know.
Just died.
And Dumbledore said, what don't I know? Which, first of all, great. He's asking questions, trying to get Harry to explain. And Harry's like, I don't want to talk about how I feel. All right.
This is Abby's bag right now. She's cooking.
And then Dumbledore says, Harry, suffering like this proves you're still human. This pain is part of being human. And then Harry says, then I don't want to be human. And they just keep going back and forth. But Dumbledore's like, you do care. Harry's like, I don't. He's like, yes, you do. He's like, how are you standing there telling me that? No, I don't. He's like, let me out of this room. And Dumbledore's like, no.
Yeah.
And Harry just won't listen to Dumbledore. And he's like, you are going to listen to what I have to say. And then Dumbledore says, it's my fault that Sirius died. And then goes into this whole, please sit down. And then here's what happened.
Yeah, I also think the fact that he's just like, I
so
did this
calm
because
and collected the whole
Dumbledore
time.
says calmly.
But
yeah, Dumbledore's just so
Yeah.
chill, letting Harry experience all these emotions while maintaining this really like cool, like he's sad and he hurts for Harry, but he's allowing him to express these emotions, but asking him like, I'm trying to understand, but please listen to me and what I'm trying to tell you. I think it's just a really cool connection.
Well, I even saw it from Dumbledore's perspective of, he said, there's a reason why I didn't tell you, why I didn't answer your question in your first year. And I kept putting it off and I kept putting it off because I loved you and I didn't want you having to deal with those things in those moments. I was always thinking later is better, later is better, later is better, until all this happened. And he said, it's my fault because I loved you and I wanted you not to have to go through these things. I was protecting you from it, but I made things worse. And to me, I was able to look at that and be like, man, that is so Dumbledore.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's a not a parent, because Dumbledore wasn't a parent, but I don't know how many relationships Dumbledore had like this with
a pseudo parent, at least.
With
Harry has
students
multiple
that he cared
father
about.
figures.
Very true. And I feel like this is just another example of like, you know, in some ways, like parents can fail, but you look up to them and you think that, especially with Dumbledore, you look up to Dumbledore. Everyone waits for Dumbledore. Dumbledore will fix it. Dumbledore will save the day. But this is just another reminder that Dumbledore's human. And he's going to make mistakes and he's going to make wrong decisions. He's not perfect. And I think that's hard for any teen to realize, that this idol that you look up to is ultimately someone who can let you down and not understand what you're going through. But I think it's a beautiful, beautiful dialogue between both of them in this chapter.
Yeah. Anything else from this chapter? I think the prophecy is great. Getting into the prophecy.
I was trying to decide if Dumbledore knew Harry was a Horcrux at this point and was still hiding that one more thing from him. And I decided I don't think he is, because he isn't 100% sure that Voldemort has Horcruxes at this point in the story.
Yeah.
I also like the end where he's like, you might be wondering why I didn't make you a prefect. Well, I thought you had too much going on as it was.
Which is fair. The last thing I'll say about this chapter is they are talking about Petunia. And Harry's like, she doesn't love me. She doesn't give a damn. And Dumbledore's like, but she took you. And she may have taken you grudgingly, furiously, unwillingly, bitterly, yet she still took you, and in doing so, she sealed the charm placed upon you. Your mother's sacrifice made the bond of blood the strongest shield I could give you. And that does make me think, like, ultimately, Petunia had a choice. She didn't have to take Harry, but she did anyways. She may have treated him terribly, but there was part of her that I think still felt responsible and wanted to take him in, whether she didn't truly love him or not. But you know,
I think it's
I don't want
probably
to overlook. But
yeah, I would. I mean, again, I don't know, so this is just me assuming or putting my 2 cents in there. I think Petunia was probably in the same situation as Severus, in that she loved Lily, and that's why she did it. It wasn't necessarily for Harry himself, but it was for Lily.
And part of me, and this is just maybe part of my headcanon, I know that Petunia always talked terribly of her sister and of James, but ultimately, like, I think she's still mad at Lily. I think she's upset with her for being a witch, for having powers. I think she probably is like, she got herself into a situation which got her killed. I think she's probably mad at her for getting herself killed, quote unquote. And she loves her sister so much that, you know, it comes out as anger.
That's how I look at it too. Like, she's angry that she's a witch, because being a witch is how she ended up dying, and that's what it's grief. and it's grief because she ultimately, I mean, I think if they both would have been witches, Petunia wouldn't have had a problem. But it was the fact that her sister was now going into a world that she could not even be a part of, like truly, like she could know about
part
it.
Of her lost her sister then too.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's totally grief. And I think Harry always thought that she hated her sister, but I think in reality it is just a lot of just grief and love that is coming across as bitterness.
Yeah, absolutely. But moving on, chapter 38, the final chapter of this book, Harry continues to mourn the loss of Sirius. His conversation with Hagrid doesn't really go that well. Then you have even his conversation with Nearly Headless Nick meets a dead end, and we can talk about that. Yeah, I didn't notice that how it's going to sound when I wrote it down. But it's an interesting like thought. I mean, obviously, because he gets the mirror that Sirius gave him eventually that he didn't open, which is it just me, or did I look at that like, Harry, if you would have just opened it before?
Yeah, if you had just done this one thing, the book wouldn't have turned out the way that it did.
Yeah.
But
he ends up throwing it, and then he ends up
there's a million
for
different
him.
things you could be like, if only you hadn't done this way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh well.
But so I'm gonna say this. I wish Spencer was here because I could probably see him rolling his eyes if he was here for this section. But I didn't like Luna Lovegood in this book. I wasn't a fan of, like, any time that she came on, like she came up in the book, like I wasn't impressed. Like it wasn't like, oh, she's like one of my favorite characters.
I do think Ivana Lynch elevated the character.
But I think this chapter she earned her stripes for me.
Yeah.
Because this was a great conversation with Harry. If there's anyone who could help Harry deal with what he's going through, it is Luna Lovegood because of her story. And it helps him heal. Like, able to be someone for Harry to be like, I lost my mom. It's hard to deal with. People pick on me. They hide my stuff all over the place. Like, she's the one who's able to settle him down a little bit. And for that reason, like, I'm just like, all right, Luna, like, you definitely earned your stripes at this part of the book. It took the very last chapter of Order of the Phoenix, but
we see you.
But I appreciate you. I see you. I value you.
Yeah.
But I do love the part to where the Order kind of makes the Dursleys frightened.
So good.
By going up, hey, if we hear anything from this guy, like, if we hear that you're mistreating Harry. But there's also
part of me that's like, why didn't any of them do that so much earlier?
I did think that too. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
yeah.
I don't know. But it was cool that they stood up for him.
Yeah.
I also love McGonagall coming back in while Snape's trying to take negative points away from Gryffindor, and McGonagall's like, I'm sorry, what were you saying? You're giving them 50 points?
Yeah. We also have to talk about Malfoy and his confrontation with Harry's like, my father's in Azkaban because of you, and you're gonna pay for that. Like,
I also just love how blunt Harry is. Snape's like, what are you doing, Potter? And Harry says, I'm trying to decide what curse to use on Malfoy, sir.
That's where, like,
Harry
one
just
sentence
gives 0 cares anymore. He's just like, I'm over it.
He has the best one-liners ever.
It's
like,
true.
He's such a savage, and I love it. But that's ultimately how the book ends, with them taking off as we head into the summer. So that is the Order of the Phoenix. As we kind of close out our time together, final impressions, thoughts on the Order of the Phoenix.
You know, I'm a fan. I think, since I didn't read this one as much as I've read some of the other ones, and I've seen the movie probably much more than I've read this book, I think there's part of me that enjoys the movie more so than reading the book. But there are a lot of scenes that I wish had been put on screen that we didn't get. And I really enjoyed getting to go back through it again. I enjoy it. It's probably still sitting somewhere in the middle of my ranking list.
Okay, well, maybe. While Cole gives his answer about how he felt about the book, start putting your list together if you can of the 5 books that we've read. I have mine. Cole took a look at it earlier. But Cole, give me your final impressions of The Order of the Phoenix.
It's still not my favorite book by any means. In fact, it's probably on the lower end of the list. But it does have some great. It has some great scenes in it, and it's vital to the overall story in a way that a lot of the other books aren't. They carry the story, but this one really establishes several fixed points that it's just vital to the story. That being said, I just can't get what frustrates me about this book, and I think I said it in episode 1, is just the teen angst. The Katniss Everdeen in Mockingjay, I don't care for it. Quit your whining. Although I have done my own fair share of whining in the past 2 weeks. But the point still stands. I'm like, I can live without it. I have my own personal drama. I do not want to revisit these teenagers' moodiness. Yeah. And that's what really brings the book down for me, even though the ending is absolutely fantastic.
Right.
Yeah.
But man, it has a rough start.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, now that I've ranked them, I'm like, yeah.
So
my laptop is going to die soon.
Okay.
But do you want me to go ahead and give you my rankings?
Yeah, give it to me real quick.
I'm still going Prisoner of Azkaban as my top.
Yep.
Sorcerer's Stone, number 2. I'm going to go with Goblet of Fire as number 3. And I think Chamber of Secrets and then Order of the Phoenix.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my list.
I think
this is my list. At number 5 is Chamber of Secrets. Number 4, Goblet of Fire. Number 3, The Sorcerer's Stone. Number 2, Order of the Phoenix. And then number 1 is The Prisoner of Azkaban. I think for me, if you're making me feel a kind of way about the book and I can't put it down, that is credit to you as a writer. Here's the thing. Just because we get upset over what's happening over the book doesn't mean we don't like the book. It just means that it's making us upset and angry.
Right.
Which I think it was the point of the Order of the Phoenix. And so, and it was a book that I just did not want to put down, especially when we got into the last half of the book.
For sure.
Goblet of Fire it dragged for me. Dragged way more than a lot of the books. And I think even now that I think about it, I'll probably put Goblet of Fire last. I'll put Chamber of Secrets up.
I'm gonna be honest. I've already forgotten a lot about the Goblet of Fire from when I read it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just remember I felt like there was a lot more going on that piqued my interest than in this one.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And
but I will say, disclaimer, all of them are amazing. I love all of them.
Yeah, they're all good. They're all good.
And I sit
they're
just
all
like
good
reading
but
them.
one.
Yeah. Which
Child.
I don't well
I was thinking of like the 7.
Yeah, I was thinking of the 7. And yeah.
I'm
What
I'm
I will
including
say,
the Cursed Child in my ranking.
The issue is, or I guess if you feel really concerned about the Order of the Phoenix being number 2 on my list, by the time we finish Half-Blood Prince and the Deathly Hallows, like it's going down. Like it'll be at number 4. Like it won't be in the top 3.
I don't mind where you have it.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Yeah. Cole had a huge issue with it.
I said yikes.
He did say yikes. He said
that's all I said was yikes. I didn't elaborate on it. I just said yikes.
Which yikes is how I felt after watching Dune.
Ah!
Star Wars for the win. Let's go. But that is going to do it for us here on the Show of Requirements, a Harry Potter podcast presented by the Gazebo Effect Network. Guys, thank you so much for joining us here in season 5. We've done it. We went through another season. Remember, we are the number 11 Harry Potter podcast out there right now. So we're so thankful for you. We're so thankful for your support. If you enjoy this podcast on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the channel and also share it with your friends. If you enjoyed this podcast in audio forms, make sure to follow the podcast or subscribe to it. Leave us a review as it helps us get out there and possibly crack the top 10 for Harry Potter podcast. And if you want to get more content from us, make sure to follow us on Instagram at hpotter_fanatics. For Spencer, for Abby, and for Cole, until season 6, this is David for the show. Mischief managed.